Hey guys, so I thought I would walk you through a video of how I make just a simple sourdough loaf. I have a ton of recipes that are like sourdough discard and sourdough cakes and cookies and crackers, but I thought I would just make a standard sourdough loaf and show you guys the entire process. So let's get started. I always refer back to this Artisan Sourdough Made Simple cookbook. It really does make sourdough simple, and it's got a bunch of really great recipes. Anyway, I start off with these ingredients, which is 50 grams of active bubbly starter, which I have, 350 grams of warm water, which I will get, 500 grams of bread flour, and I've got that ready. I might have to get a little bit more out of the pantry, and then 9 grams of fine sea salt. And basically up here, it just tells you the night before to mix all of these ingredients together. And first I'll start with a fork, then I will switch to a wet hand. And you basically will just leave this covered overnight. Here's the process here. So I'm getting my food scale tared out to 0, and we're using grams as the unit. And here is my starter. And it's looking lovely and active, and I'm just going to put in 50 grams of starter into this bowl. And I don't usually get it on the first try, so I'll put some back. I'm at 53 and I'm fine with that. Next is the warm water, and I will be pouring water into this bowl as well. 350 grams to be exact, but I doubt I will be exact. It's really forgiving. Sourdough is forgiving if you let it be. People make it really complicated, and it does not have to be. So I'm at 354, and that is just fine with me. Next, we will be doing flour. So once again, I will tear out my food scale, and here we are adding flour, and we're going up to 500 grams, and I'm at 501, and I am fine with that. Here we will do 9 grams of salt. Once again, tear out your scale and put in 9 grams of fine salt. Once everything is in the bowl, I grab my fork and just roughly mix to combine ingredients. And now you can see I have moved on to just a wet hand. Sourdough is very tacky and very wet, so it may take you a few times to really figure out how to manipulate it, but it gets easier every time. Then cover and let rest for a half hour. After 1/2 hour, come back, and the dough should look pretty similar to what you left it as. And we're just going to do some simple stretch and folds. So once again, with the wet hand, I'm just going to stretch and fold, stretch and fold, stretch, fold. And you're gonna do this a few times just until you feel the dough really gaining some pliability and strength at the same time. And like I said, the more you do it, the more you'll be able to feel the dough and know kind of what you're looking for in the dough. Just remember, sourdough is a very tacky dough. It's not smooth like some other bread doughs. So this is the consistency that you will be wanting. And I will just be going around and doing these stretch and folds until I feel pretty good about how the dough is, and I will be leaving this covered overnight, and since we are in the desert, I like to cover mine with a silicone baking sheet just so that it does not dry out. If I put a wet towel over it, the towel would dry within an hour overnight. So I cover it with this, and I'll usually use my cookbook to put on top of that. And this should keep the dough nice and moist overnight. Good morning, everyone. This was not originally going to be a voiceover, but just with the toddler and the 6-month-old, it just had to be. So this is our beautiful dough in the morning, sunlight, and man, it smells so good. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna flour our work surface lightly, make sure it's clean. And we're going to turn out our dough onto this work surface. And sometimes I will use my flexible bench scraper for this, but today I am just using my hand, and I'm just making sure that I get all of the dough down onto my work surface. And for this part, I am certainly no professional, but I have done it enough times to know what works for me. And for this, we're just going to do a few stretch and folds just to build up the gluten network a little more, to build up strength. And this to me is just so relaxing. I love sourdough so much. I love the meditative process of it. Busy moms don't really have any time to just truly focus and be in the moment, and I find that this really is it for me. Well, one of the ways anyway. So I'm just going to cover that for about 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, we will come back, and now I will flour my proofing basket. It is already floured, but I like to do this just so that I make sure that it does not stick. And I will just turn the flour around in the proofing basket. And here I will be using my bench scraper. It's just a plastic one. I don't even know where I got it. Actually, I think I got it in one of my kids' like play kitchen sets, but I love it. It works really well for sourdough. And then here we're just going to be doing some twists and pushes on the counter. I do not know what these are called, but this is what you kind of just let the dough stick to the counter or your surface, whatever you're working on, and pull it so that that crust can build up on the outside and have some tension. You're just building tension. I'm sure there is a proper word for this, but this is what I do, and that's how I build the crust tension. Now we're just going to plop this seam side up into our proofing basket. Sorry, it was a little out of frame here, and you can also kind of pinch in the middle. And this is going to be our last rest of this process. So we're going to just cover the dough while it's in the proofing basket and just let rest for 30 minutes to an hour. Then I will just be scoring it with my kitchen scissors. This is just so that the crust doesn't have an ugly explosion bubble on top, because we did build all of that tension in the crust. And I will transfer it now to my Dutch oven, and this is what I will be using to cook the bread in. During this time, I have preheated my oven to 450 degrees. Make sure your oven rack is in the middle of the oven, and like I said, preheat your oven to 450 degrees. This is going to be the first portion of baking. So put your sourdough in the Dutch oven at 450, covered for 20 minutes. Then you will go in and uncover and bake for an additional 30 minutes uncovered. After that 30 minutes is up, you will go in and remove the loaf from the Dutch oven. You will then take the loaf out with the parchment paper, set it directly on the oven rack, and bake for an additional 10 minutes just to get the crust nice and golden. And that is it, you guys. You have a beautiful, delicious sourdough loaf. And I love to eat it with just some butter and strawberry preserves or any kind of preserves that you like. This is so delicious, you guys. Oh my gosh, my family will devour this in one day, easy. We make sandwiches out of it, toast, and then if I have any left over, I'll make croutons. It's just amazing. And I'll usually make about 3 of these a week, along with a bunch of other sourdough recipes. I really hope you guys try this out and love it as much as we do. Just look at that crumb, you guys. Oh, it's just delicious. Sourdough really is a beautiful, beautiful bread. It's a labor of love, but I truly feel like it does not have to be just overly complicated and precise and scientific. It can be simple and enjoyable, and I really do believe that. Please try this recipe. Comment below if you do. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, let me know, and like and subscribe, and look forward to seeing you all in the next video.